Thank you for tuning in. This is iRock Radio FM, Bay Radio, San Francisco. I'm Lois J. And today we are speaking with Dale Stanton, the author of the book entitled The Hooker's Daughter. And Dale, thank you so much for being here. I'm just really so wonderful to be able to talk about things, passes that were difficult. The circumstances were really difficult, and a lot of times, it's hard to share a difficult past. And so, but my next question would be, who has been the biggest influence in your life, and what lesson did that person teach you?
Well, I felt very isolated as a youngster, which I had said before, and I often wondered why nobody came to rescue me. The social service agencies weren't predominant the way that we see them today, and I'm sure that I wouldn't have been left to remain at home given what was going on all around me. Mm-hmm. And somehow or another, I made that vow to stay strong. So very much I had my own inner voice, and I was my own person. And then finally, as I did begin to mature, I really realized that I needed to cut the psychological umbilical cord to discover what I was capable of.
Right.
So at 23 years old, I felt desperate, and I took the big step of seeking out a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. And that was the very first time I acknowledged what I was going through. And believe me, that was quite a step, because in those days it was considered a stigma to seek therapy.
Right.
I mean, even today, oftentimes there's a stigma when you hear people are going for therapy. But I knew that if I didn't do that, that I might end up in the gutter. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really, I would credit that action that I took very much. It was a guiding light for me. For all the trials and tribulations, because even at 23, I was still, my path of misfortunes had not ended by the time I was 30, and I was married. I felt isolated again and a pariah. My husband was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he fought its debilitating effects for over 6 years. My dreams and hopes of having a normal family and community life were quickly dashed, and my children suffered, and nobody wanted to hang out with death. I felt like a pariah.
Right.
Well, I was well-seasoned from the lessons I learned as a child, and they helped me judge what was important. So I think that from the point of view that I had this relationship to a therapist that was a strong relationship and somebody I could lean on. And then I always was a believer, and if you're familiar with the expression from the German philosopher Nietzsche, who wrote and said, "What does not destroy me makes me stronger." And the question for me was, would all this destroy me?
Right. There was a time in my life where, something happened, and for me it was pretty devastating. And you're right, I felt that, I'm never going to be the same. My life isn't going to ever be any better, any good. And this one particular person, and he said to me, "Honey," he said, "this is just one small part of your life. Your life is so much bigger than this one difficult circumstance." And he said, "I want you to remember, that there is so much more to your life than just this." And that stayed with me even to this day. I still hear those words coming from him, and it really helped me. It caused me to, realize that I can still live and I could still do things in my life that could make me happy. And so that's why I asked. And also to also say, what exactly, when did you know that you were going to really pull out of that and really, because what you're doing today, the things that you've accomplished, my goodness, 4 careers, that is amazing. And so tell us about that. Tell us, how you felt when you, I guess maybe after the first career, when you I believe you were a practitioner, a nurse, a registered nurse.
Yes, I practiced registered nursing, and before that, well, that too was a struggle. I wasn't formally educated, nor did I have the opportunity as a young person getting out of school. And I must, and if any of your listeners, I'd like to say to them, look after yourselves, take care of yourselves. Don't give in to thinking, if you will. I often will say when I'm out on a talk to groups that paradoxically, the human spirit is the more broken you are, the more whole you have the chance to become. Uh-huh. And as a broken person, I felt that, I could only go up. My philosophy was I could either fall off a bar stool dead drunk or forge ahead. Mm-hmm. I chose to forge ahead. Right. And I'd like to say what I felt was very important and helped me go forward. And I always like to talk about a parable that I like very much, and I think it says a lot about the people who feel flawed, as I did, and who suffer from esteem issues or lack of opportunities and mistreatment and so forth. And this parable was of a king who had the perfect diamond. He dropped it, and a crack developed the length of the stone. The king summoned all the jewelers of the land, and they all came to the same conclusion. The diamond was useless, irredeemably flawed. Then an elderly gentleman came along who asked to examine the diamond. And he says, let me see what I can do if I can fix it, even though he knew he couldn't erase the crack. Mm-hmm. He carved petals on top of the diamond. Now the crack formed the stem of a blossom. Oh, the crack did not disappear, but it was transformed. Oh. And the point of my story is we'll never be perfect, but we can turn flaws into flowers. Oh, no one is perfect, beautiful. And we all have flaws and wounds and deficiencies that are hard to admit. Right. Our imperfections are part of us, and to deny them is to hide from ourselves and from each other. Life is not about flawlessness, but about overcoming. So I think that as I proceeded to go ahead and struggle, it was I had a lot of starts and stops and things that didn't feel like the right fit for me, or I didn't understand myself well enough to know that I was in the right vein, if you will, to try to carve out a niche for myself in society, working and being educated. But with that thought in mind, you fall back and you get up and you start all over again till eventually you get to where you need to go rather than giving in to the demons that try to wear you down.
Oh, excellently said. And, I just wish we could talk so much longer because this is just so interesting. Dale, we are so happy and so glad that you came on the show today. And just tell everyone where they could purchase your book.
Okay, thank you. First of all, they can go to my website, which is www.thehookersdaughter.com. It is available. They can purchase it through the website. I'll be happy to sign a copy. It's also available on Amazon. It's available from the publisher, Infinity Publishing. And for people that read on tablets like Nook and Kindle and iReaders, it's available that way as well. And I will certainly, if people choose to read it, I'll certainly look forward to hearing from them if they have comments. But again, go to my website and you can see some of the upcoming events that I have. And I do want to say, if any of your listeners have a book group, that they, no matter where they're located, I've been doing Skyping with a lot of book groups over the country. Mm-hmm. So I could certainly do that, and then I go out on speaking presentations. But it's been a wonderful journey. And I would like to add to, apart from telling everybody where they can get the book, I'd like to leave people with the thought of, it was Christopher Robin who said to Winnie the Pooh, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think."
Oh, beautiful. I love it. And Dale,
thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to go to a song right now, but Dale, hang on the line just for a little bit longer. I want to talk to you after we get this song. Jessica Reedy, Something Out of Nothing.